On the evening of November 22nd, 1987, millions of Chicagoans were tuned in for routine sports highlights of a Chicago Bears victory. Suddenly, the broadcast was severed. The screen went dark, replaced by pulsing static and the high-pitched screech of a power saw cutting through metal. A masked figure appeared, swaying in front of a spinning background. This was a sophisticated cybersecurity breach of national infrastructure, executed in real time across a major metropolitan area. To find this ghost, we have to look past the internet myths and understand the physical vulnerabilities of the analog technology that powered the 1980s. The mask belonged to Max Headroom, a fictional, computer-generated personality designed as a satirical commentary on the media monopolies of the era. In the 1980s, television stations relied on a studio transmitter link. This concentrated microwave beam sent from the production studio directly to a high-power antenna atop a city skyscraper. Bypassing protected telephone lines entirely, they required a perfectly unobstructed line of sight through the open air. Broadcasters believed these signals were secure because the receivers were isolated hundreds of feet above the city, mounted on structures like the John Hancock Center. But this reliance on a centralized line-of-sight system created a single point of failure for anyone with the correct microwave hardware to intercept it. The first strike hit WGN's 9 o'clock news at 9:14 p.m. Sportscaster Dan Roan was mid-sentence when the station's signal was overpowered. For 15 seconds, the pirate feed showed a dancing Max Headroom, though the audio was nothing but a low buzz. WGN engineers fought to regain control by rapidly shifting their microwave uplink frequency. By changing the frequency of the link between the studio and the John Hancock transmitter, the engineers managed to cut the hijack short and return to the news. This initial failure provided the hackers with a necessary live-fire data point. Their video was reaching the transmitter, but they had incorrectly tuned their audio subcarrier frequency. They now knew exactly how to adjust their microwave modulation for the next target. 2 hours later, the perpetrators targeted WTTW during a broadcast of Doctor Who. Because it was late on a Sunday night, the station's receiver atop the Sears Tower was unstaffed, leaving no one to fight for the signal. This second hijack lasted a full 90 seconds. With the audio subcarrier now properly tuned, the figure mocked local journalists, referenced 1950s cartoons, and ended with a bizarre fly swatter spanking. The FCC and FBI launched an immediate investigation. Under federal law, the perpetrators faced a $100,000 fine and a year in prison. Investigators were stymied by a paradox. The visual content was absurd, but the act itself required professional microwave alignment and precise frequency synchronization to successfully seize a metropolitan signal. This hijacking relied on a radio principle called the capture effect. When two analog FM signals are broadcast on the same frequency, a receiver will not blend them. Instead, the receiver automatically locks on to the stronger one, completely suppressing the weaker signal. To trigger this, the hackers had to position a high-powered transmitter in a high-rise or on a rooftop directly in the path of the station's microwave beam. They required industrial-grade microwave dish antennas to focus their pirate signal. A standard broadcast antenna would have scattered the power too wide to overpower the station's feed. Beyond the physical alignment, the hackers needed the engineering expertise to correctly modulate their audio onto the specific sub-carrier frequency used by the station's receiving equipment. The requirement for professional hardware and specialized math effectively eliminated amateur pranksters from the suspect pool. Internet theories have frequently pointed toward underground artists like Eric Fournier or a Reddit-based suspect known as Jay. Federal investigators and broadcast engineers dismissed these theories. None of the popular suspects had documented access to the commercial-grade microwave transmitters or the specific technical training required to use them. Even the original proponent of the J theory eventually issued a retraction, concluding after years of meticulous research that the hack was likely an inside job performed with station-specific knowledge. Since the equipment was not available to the general public, the evidence points toward an industry insider with access to specialized, decommissioned, or stolen commercial gear. Decades later, the human elements remain unknown. The person in the mask, the technician behind the microwave dish, and the person spinning the background. Most hackers eventually boast about their exploits, yet this team has maintained total silence for nearly 40 years, never confessing or attempting to sell their story. This discipline is what allows the hack to persist as an unresolved legend in American broadcasting. The hijackers used Max Headroom to demonstrate the fragility of the media. By interrupting the news with a character who lived within the system, they highlighted how easily the airwaves could be seized. This event belongs to a specific era of analog signal propagation. In today's digital landscape, signals are encrypted, logged, and monitored by surrounding networks. Modern security makes an untraceable broadcast signal intrusion of this scale technologically impossible. The perpetrators bypassed the central security of the airwaves, delivered their broadcast to millions, and left behind no trail. They vanished into the static forever.